Morgan is Jewish, but you aren't, then is Mila Jewish or not?
That's a very good question.
That is the best question I've ever heard.
Oh, what?
A what?
I know.
That means that Mila's part Jewish.
What?
Yeah.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Jewish people celebrate Hanukkah.
Yeah. Do you remember doing Hanukkah with the lights and the candles?
I was in Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have a dreidel, so it's hard to forget.
Oh.
Can I do my question?
No,
now?
listen, we haven't answered Marshall
Does he
yet.
have a? Do you have a follow up to that? Did we answer your question?
You want to explain more about that?
Why don't you?
No, I think you'd be really good at explaining it.
So,
I just thought of a follow-up question.
okay, let's hear it.
So when Mila grows up, is she what? Oh, this is practically can Mila choose if she's Jewish or not?
So that's a really good way to talk about this. Morgan grew up Jewish because her mom is Jewish, but she also believes in Jesus. So what we came up with as a way to talk about it is that Morgan is a Methodist Jew.
What is Methodist Jew?
It's a Methodist and a Jew put together. Methodist Jew.
Wow, I don't even know what it meant.
So this is a fun story.
But I'm pretty sure I figured it out already.
Yeah.
Second.
So when Morgan and I met, she was not really going to church or anything like that. But then we started going to church together. And then after we got married and when Mila was born, she was baptized on the same day as Mila at our church. How cool is that? But Mila, because being Jewish sometimes means you have a parent who's Jewish. So she'll always be Jewish, but she can choose, if she believes in Jesus or not. And so that's something that we talk about because we love Jesus and we believe Jesus loves us. But we're not going to make her believe in Jesus. That's something that everybody gets to decide when you get to an age and you start thinking about these things.
I bet even if Mila doesn't believe, she still likes the story of the Bible.
That's probably a pretty good way to talk about it.
When is my story going to come? I want to tell mine.
I think he had a follow-up question. Do you remember your follow-up question?
It's kind of answered by the first part of the question.
Okay. All right. Is it okay if Mila takes a turn asking a question?
Yeah.
You ready, Mila?
We can match it up.
That's right. Let's see if you can say your question nice and clearly so Marshall can hear you.
When did God make us?
When or why?
When?
When did God make us?
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of a mysterious question. So Mila's question is, when did God make us? And there's actually some people I remember reading about when I was in school, and you're technically not anything until about 9 months before you're born. So we don't really exist until we become someone's baby. So for me, God made me 31 years ago. And God made you 4.5 years ago.
What?
Yeah.
Mama was made 40 years ago, and Daddy was made 42 years ago, and I was made 7 years ago, and all of us were made hugs years ago.
Nice. Hugs years ago. That's sweet.
The sweetest.
Okay, it's Marshall's
Yeah,
turn.
that was a good question, Mila.
That was
Marshall's
good.
turn. Let's see.
Okay. So, oh, this is kind of like Mila's question. So if God like made people like kind of like 100, it made the first people, Adam and Eve, like 100 years ago. But then dinosaurs were made like 100 years ago. Why are there no dinosaurs in the Bible?
So
Yeah, that's a really good question. Dinosaurs? Because we don't hear about dinosaurs in the Bible, do we?
No.
So the Bible doesn't talk about dinosaurs, but that's because dinosaurs lived a long time before the first humans lived. So it's really important when we think about the two stories that describe the very beginning. It's in the book called Genesis. That's the first book in the Bible. And there's two stories about how God made everything. Well, that's kind of strange. Why would there be two different stories about how God made everything?
Oh, this is
And-
another question.
That's right. This is going to bring up lots of questions. If you read chapter 1 and then chapter 2, they're different stories. But that's because the very beginning is still a mystery to people. And even though we have these stories, it's the best way to help us understand that all of what we have on earth and in the entire universe comes from God. So when we look at science and see when the dinosaurs lived, they lived like hundreds of millions of years ago. And it doesn't look like humans had been made yet by the time the dinosaurs were living. So the humans first came many, many years after the dinosaurs.
Yes. And you fixed my brain, which was broken about that.
I think it's very fun way to describe our brains, but I don't think your brain was broken yet. This is a part of just learning about things. And I could be wrong. We could get to heaven and there's the dinosaurs. And Jesus is like, you guys all had it wrong. I don't know yet. We'll see.
you get a robot dinosaur.
A robot dinosaur. Now that would be kind of cool. Yeah. All right. Who's got the next question? Is it Mila's turn?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Nice and loudly. Let's hear your question.
When did God make a dinosaur robot?
That's pretty good. A dinosaur robot.
Never.
That might be a never question. Not yet. Maybe not yet. Technically,
People who made robo dinosaurs, though.
that's
But
true.
Tomorrow I saw a robot dinosaur from Pop. And
Oh yeah.
Proof that
I love it. And I want a robot dinosaur to have.
Maybe next Christmas.
To ride it.
All right. What's Marshall's next question?
And then can I go again?
Sure. We'll take turns.
Why is it not nice to say God or Jesus when you aren't talking to him?
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one. There's one of the rules that we call the 10 Commandments says don't misuse God's name. So sometimes people use God or Jesus when they're upset, almost like a bad word. And when I'm upset, I don't say, oh, Mila. Well, sometimes I do, but it's when I'm talking to Mila. But if I stub my toe and I say, oh, Mila, that's not very nice. That's not how Mila, that's not how we use Mila's name. And the same is true with God, except for God is so special. And God's name is really special. So it's kind of like talking about people behind their back. You know, if somebody's upset, we don't like when they talk. When they don't like when we talk about them behind their back. Or if somebody's upset with me, I don't like to hear them talk about me behind my back. So it's okay to say God, especially when we're talking good things about God. But sometimes people do use God and Jesus almost like a bad word.
It's time for my question.
Did that answer your question, Marshall?
I don't know what to say.
Okay, well, let Mila ask a question.
Daddy, when did God put us up there in heaven?
We haven't gotten there yet. So,
That's my story.
okay, what is it?
When did me and my family go up to heaven?
When will we go up there?
Yeah, that's my story. Come on.
Okay, that's your question?
Yeah.
All right, when will we go up to heaven? There's two parts. There's two options. Okay? Do you want to say the two options?
Yeah.
Okay, what are the two options?
You're about to go in heaven.
Mhm.
If you don't, that's okay.
Okay. That's actually pretty good life advice. You're either about to go to heaven, but if not, it's okay. So people out there who might be a little bit worried, it's okay if you're not about to go, but it's pretty cool if you are about to go. So
we're about to go.
maybe you don't never know. You know what, Mila? That actually is one of the things I try to remember when I think about heaven, is that we should always be ready for heaven. Meaning we should be so excited we aren't ever afraid when that time comes, because I think it's going to be great. So when do we get to go? One thing that would be really cool would happen is if Jesus just decided to bring heaven to earth. And we believe that's going to happen one day, but it could happen that we get to a certain age and that Jesus has not come back yet. We go to be with Jesus while we wait for Jesus to bring heaven to earth. But one day we're all going to be with Jesus in heaven.
Probably.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I mean,
What else, Marshall?
Where's my question? When I tell my other question.
Oh, you need to be patient, silly goose.
so
Are you out of questions, Marshall?
yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. Well,
Mila has a question.
okay. Mila, you got another one?
Where did God make toys?
Ooh, I think Marshall had a good answer when it came to the robot dinosaur. Because a robot dinosaur is kind of like a toy. And I don't know if God made the toys, but God made us, and we make toys out of the things God made.
And sometimes we make things. We make things. And sometimes we just make things that God.
Okay, goodbye.
Use those things to make something else, and use those things to make something else, and it might just be. Wow, I was thinking more than I could think.
Wow, that's pretty heavy. Thinking more than I can think. All right, do you have any more questions, Mila?
Nope.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for all these questions.